Today, we're going to be talking about finding off-market deals. The elusive golden nugget that every real estate investor is looking for. We know that's the best way to find equity, best way to find value add opportunities, especially in this market.
You're listening to the Real FI Podcast, where we discuss time-tested tricks, techniques, and strategies for pursuing financial independence today, so that we can enjoy a better tomorrow. Financial independence isn't about getting rich quick. It's about cultivating a foundation to grow financially, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Let's figure out how to kick the 9 to 5. Here are your hosts, Patrick and James.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another installment of Thinking Out Loud on the Real FI Podcast. I'm James Rippian. I'm here with my co-host, Patrick McGrath. How's it going, Patrick?
Oh, it's going great, James. Going great. Looking forward to our topic today. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think we have a good one. So today we're going to be talking about finding off-market deals. The elusive golden nugget that every real estate investor is looking for. We know that's the best way to find equity, best way to find value add opportunities, especially in this market. You're looking at the MLS, things are getting multiple offers, things are being bid up, things are getting crazy expensive. And there's definitely a lot of value to be found off market. So, we thought it might be a good time to kind of chat about what some of those strategies might be to find those deals. I know that I've done a couple off market deals myself, whether it's working with wholesalers or finding them on my own. But I think it's going to be a good, timely topic to discuss.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, I know that I've done a couple off market deals. I'm currently in the process of trying to find another one or two right now. Just like you said, I mean, everything that hits the market is either extremely overpriced for what it was 6 months, a year, 2 years ago, or it's just getting bought pending within the first couple of days. So you either have to be looking every day or be willing to overpay to get a deal right now. And I know everybody that's out there is kind of going through the same thing. So how do you get that edge over your average investor? And I think that's what we're going to try to bring to you today, is the steps that we've taken in the past to be able to get those off-market deals, kind of what they look like and the benefits over trying to compete with everybody else off the MLS and with a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. So, James, with that, what's the first way you would approach trying to get an off-market deal?
There's just so many good routes to go to choose from, but I'm just gonna talk about first the most obvious one, and we can springboard from there. Wholesalers, relationships. There's people who are out there looking for off-market deals, trying to find the value to add to you as an investor. Now, what is a wholesaler? They're buyers out there going around finding off-market deals, and they're kind of acting as middleman, getting them under contract, and then finding you as the buyer to purchase the deal from them. And I think they're a great resource for you to find deals that offer a little bit more opportunity. They're always looking for distressed opportunities, distressed deals. People are going through divorces. They have debt. They have some other, problems that they're facing in life, and they're very motivated sellers. And that's what wholesalers are going to do. They're going to go find those deals, get them under contract, and sell that contract to you and assign it. And that's how, a good off-market deal opportunity might pop up. Now, you're going to have to know these wholesalers. There's going to be a ton of them in every market. And there's going to be some that are good and a lot that are terrible and not doing any deals. The good ones are going to stand out right away. Like, they're doing a lot of deals. They have a lot of deal flow. They're going to have preferred buyers. So it at some point becomes a relationship game. If you can get to the top of their buyer list and know how to work with them and establish a good rapport, you're going to have a good relationship with wholesalers. But yeah, that would be the first one I would talk about. There's a lot of good strategies with the vetting wholesalers and looking at the deal itself, but that's the first one I think we should probably devote some time to. What do you think about wholesaling?
Yeah, I've kind of went over this a couple times on my page, but I personally have not yet bought a deal from a wholesaler. Not that I don't see the value in that. I'm on lists. I get text messages and emails almost on a daily basis of deals um, that are out there. And again, these wholesalers are finding properties that 9 times out of 10 in their current condition cannot be listed on the MLS, or it's not going to be the best route for them to be listed on the MLS because they are distressed or have tax liens or behind mortgages and all these different items that the average buyer out there with an FHA loan can't close on a deal. Um, so there is a ton of value in that, and a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, these wholesalers, they they don't have the funds to be able to do the deal themselves, or they're trying to get more funds together to do a deal themselves. Um, so that's, you've listened to Bigger Pockets, you've seen other people out there talking about the best way to get into real estate with little or no money is to start wholesaling and bird dogging deals and, trying to partner up with somebody else. And I think that's the good part about wholesaling, because that's their job. They're dedicating all of their time to find these good deals. So why not reach out to someone who that's all they're doing? And there's a lot of different places to find wholesalers. Number one, which is where I found them, is at your local real estate meetup. I know we've talked about this before, but James put on a great real estate meetup. I know he has another great one where he's living right now. And there's always wholesalers at these different meetups. And 9 times out of 10, you give them an email address or your phone number, and they just start sending deals out to you. They're on your list. Another way to find a list of wholesalers is typically every market has a Facebook group, an investor Facebook group, and you can go on there and say, hey, add me to your buyers list. And you'll start getting emails. You'll start getting messages every day. I mean, the only way that they make money is when they assign a contract to somebody else that can close. So it's pretty easy to get added to a list. To get higher and higher on that list, though, you got to be serious, and you've got to be able to close on these deals really quick. So you have to know about how to close on these properties, which is 9 times out of 10 going to be with private money or hard money lender. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would agree 100%. You're touching on something that I was going to bring up is, my thoughts with wholesalers and new investors getting into the game is I would almost recommend that first time deal buyers not use a wholesaler, because you're going to have so many things thrown at you without you really knowing what you don't know. And when you're going the wholesale route, can't even talk. When you're going the sailor route, you're not being represented in most cases by a real estate agent, and your agent is going to be the one cueing you into these things that you need to be aware of when you're going through the due diligence period and getting these deals done. And when you're doing a wholesale deal, they're going a million miles an hour, like from contract to like closing in 2 weeks. These wholesalers want to get these things closed as quick as possible. So you hinted at this earlier. You're probably going to be using cash, probably going to be using hard money. Not a lot of wholesalers want to work with conventional or other types of loans because it just stalls up the process a little bit more. Good hard money lender shouldn't have a problem closing 2-3 weeks. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be trade-offs for sure. So, your experience level, not knowing what you don't know, what kind of traps you can get yourself into. Those are all things you need to be aware of. So sometimes I suggest, first time deal buyers, maybe just go off the MLS or find some other route to go, because, the wholesaler is not going to know everything about the property, because they're almost trying to be blind to what the condition is.
Exactly.
What's wrong with it? You're not getting the disclosures you would otherwise get in an MLS listing. They're just simply middlemen, and that's kind of where the value comes from. So it's going to be trade-offs.
Yeah, no, and I mean, especially one of the biggest things you hear about wholesalers is their numbers, their after repair value, their renovation numbers, and all of that. They're professional deal finders. They're not professional rehabbers, flippers,
Right.
rental property owners. 9 times out of 10, the best ones, they're keeping the best deals for themselves.
Or they're
You know,
partnering
and
with
then
somebody who they work with and getting a deal done that way.
exactly. So you're not even going to be seeing those. So the ones that, and the deals that they're not taking on themselves, they probably have the top 2 or 3 people that they deal with that are getting the next level of best deals that they're not keeping for themselves. So you're like getting the 3rd and 4th tier properties that are getting blasted to you in an email or a text message. So with then you really have to know the numbers on the deal, the area, and everything else. And then you really have to know the numbers and how the hard money, private money loan side works as well. So there's these 2 completely different beasts that, you're kind of throwing yourself into. Now, yeah, the hard money lender will, let you do 10% down on a deal and fund 90% of the entire deal, which sounds great. But how do they make their money? By the interest on the loan on the deal. So
The
if it
fees
goes
and the
over,
points.
yeah, if it, and the points, I mean, 3-4 points. So yeah, wholesaling is definitely a way to do it. I would totally agree with you though, maybe not for your first deal, but James, if you're trying to do your first deal and we kind of scared you off with the wholesaling route, what is the second best way that you would look for to find a deal?
Yeah, there's, wholesaling is a great route to go. Just buyer beware, literally. Now, this is something that I did when I first got started in real estate. It was a fantastic thing to do. Learned a lot doing it this way. Learned how to negotiate. Learned how to, analyze properties. I did a whole bunch of mailers, direct mail campaigns. The way I did it personally was printed out letters. I would hand sign every single one, put labels on them, kind of give a personal touch with the signature by pen, wet ink pen signature. Send them out, to people who own the properties you want to buy, and you're going to get calls. Now we're dealing with like time, investment, and energy going into finding off-market deals. But if you do it right, you're going to get a good conversion rate and you're going to have leads coming through your pipeline, but you need to be able to close and you need to be able to convert those leads. So you need to be available, you need to be able to commit some time, but mailers I think are a fantastic way to go about that. I've done tons of mailers and I've probably wholesaled 3 deals personally from mailers, things that I came across and didn't end up buying, wholesaled them to other investors, have bought our own deals doing it this way, just mailers. And I'm also doing it for my real estate business as an agent to find leads for listings and buyers and things like that. So it's something that I feel like not a lot of people do personally, but offers a lot of opportunity.
I agree with you. As you all know, I have also found deals, closed deals from postcards and sending out mailers. The best part about this route is you get access directly to the seller of the property or potential seller of the property. And this really helps you out in the negotiations because now, if you dive down and you do a really good job, you can find out their motivation, what they're trying to do, if they own the property outright, what their ultimate goal is, why they're selling the property, if the property has issues. Hey, when's the last time you did the roof? I want to give you an offer. When's the last time the roof was done? Have you done any major renovations? And you can find out all of that stuff by just having a conversation with them. And now you're having a conversation with another investor and they know that you are an investor and that you need to make some money as well. So you're already starting off on a good foot with the negotiations and letting them know, because you're buying it direct, hey, I'm not just a wholesaler who's going to assign your contract onto somebody else. You know, like, hey, me personally, Patrick, I'm the person that is going to be buying and closing on this deal. If you don't plan on, wholesaling the property, it doesn't make sense for you. So that's kind of my route that I go. And I try to get a personal relationship with these sellers to where they want to sell to me. And that's kind of been the best strategy for me. And it's really helped me with these owner finance or seller carryback opportunities, which, off market deal is like, the gold standard, but then seller financing, owner financing, these, seller carryback, I mean, that's like the diamond standard of, a deal these days. And the 99% of the time, the only way that that's going to happen is by sending out mailers or postcards or dialing for dollars, and calling these sellers directly and
Right.
speaking with them. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's 100% true, man. When you form that personal relationship with the seller, you're going to be able to better identify what their needs are and why they're selling the property, and you're going to be able to use that to leverage a better deal for yourself. So if they just need straight up cash real quick, you're going to get a better purchase price. If they're not super motivated because they don't need cash, but maybe they're looking to retire, maybe you can get that seller financing worked in there. So when you're looking at this deal, not on MLS and not through a wholesaler, you're going to have more flexibility with the terms, and you're going to be able to get those terms that work better for you as a buyer and then also the seller. So there's definitely a lot of negotiation that can be played out there. How do you do your mailers? Like, what is your strategy specifically for finding those deals and opportunities?
yeah. So my mailers are directly done from the Deal Machine app. So I typically just buy a list of my target properties. You can go on like ListSource or Podio or PropStream. There's so many different ones out there.
Mhm.
And then you can pick your target zip codes. And I try to do sales longer than 10 years ago.
Yeah. Why is that important? I know exactly why you're doing that, but tell us why that's important.
Because someone has owned the property long enough, and right now they probably have a decent amount of equity built up in it. They've owned it long enough where things could be starting to break. They could have tenant issues. They might not want to renovate to get those market rents up.
Right.
So, and plus it could be an older person that you're trying to buy it from.
Right.
So that's one of the main reasons. Plus I mean, if you buy something within the last 2 or 3 years, or you're sending out mailers to someone in the last 2 or 3 years, I don't really feel like you're going to get that good of a deal.
Right. Yeah, too
So
close. So I think that's important because I think you call this like an anchor. Their anchor for the purchase price is going to be what they bought that place for in 1995, 2005.
mhm,
And maybe not 2005 is a good example because things are going crazy, but a long time ago. And ideally, things have appreciated since then. So, the delta for where they think their house is worth is probably going to be closer to what they bought it for in some circumstances. So I think that's a good way to get value by targeting. Also, I think the average mortgage length before property is sold is like 6 to 7 years or something. So that's how I always target. I try to at least 6 or 7 years. I don't look for properties that have sold or turned over earlier than that.
exactly. So that's typically the first one that I do. Then, you want to make sure that it's absentee owners, people that aren't living at the property. So that's the second one. And then now in this stage of the game, I'm really only focused on multifamily properties. So then I'm targeting triplexes and up, just because I don't want to deal with a duplex, more units underneath one roof, more cash flow. So that's my target. And that's what I'm going after. And then I send out a mailer every 10 days for 6 times. So I figure, if I don't get a call after sending, 2 months worth of mailers every 10 days, then, most likely they're not interested, or I'll try a different route after that. But that's typically how I go after that. And I do my email. And for me, I put my wife's name on the postcard because I feel like there's a better opportunity for someone to call Danielle than a Patrick. So little tidbit out there if you're going to do mailers. That's just my personal opinion, but I found that it works. So
A lot of this is psychology. You got to approach it from that seller's perspective, and whoever you're interfacing with, not just with this finding off market deal situation, but everything in life. So I think that's smart. I don't find it dishonest or anything. It's, it's a way, because you guys are working together in this business, and you guys, yeah. So, but I think it's a smart thing to recognize that you want to present yourself and your materials and your advertisements in a way that's going to resonate. And that clearly fits the bill here with finding off market deals. And that's kind of why I hand sign, my letters that I did. The way I wrote them, the verbiage you're using, everything that goes into this is going to impact the viewer and therefore your conversions. So,
and I've also switched up. So I did just the standard, one off of a deal machine last year, and sent those out. And so this year, a year later, I'm sending them out to the same people that I sent them out to last year, but I changed the color. I changed the verbiage a little bit. Before it was just like, hey, do you want a free offer? Now it's like, hey, I'm a local investor in the area that's looking to purchase another property. So I changed the wording up a little bit, just to see if that drives any more phone calls, or that might spark someone different, because these people are probably getting mailers from other people saying they want, to give them free offers on their houses and everything else. So you're most likely not the only one doing this, but the pool is extremely small because it takes effort. You have to go buy a list. You have to upload that into your CRM. You have to send them out. You have to answer the phone. You have to be, you have to have some sort of sales, to be able to talk to people. You got to have a list of questions that you need. The last thing you want to do is get someone on the phone and then be like, well, how much do you think you want? And everything else. I did that. I was like, holy crap, someone actually called me. This is insane.
That was me, man. I had no idea what to say, what to ask. I was saying just such dumb stuff. Like, how do you like your house? And like, just incredible things. But the thing is, you just need to do it. You just need to do it and keep doing it. And you're not going to know what the hell to say until you do a couple of these. You go do some site visits, you see what you're looking at. You just need to do it. And don't stress yourself out trying to do it perfect the first time. You just need to take on those repetitions.
Exactly. 100%. So with that being said, the deal I'm about to close in the next 2 weeks came from a postcard. So I spent probably $2,000 sending out postcards last year, and I've got 2 deals that I'm going to close this year off market from postcards. Right now, the average unit price on the MLS or any commercial property is trading for around $100,000 to $110,000 a unit, and I am buying these properties at $70,000 to $80,000 a unit. So you're getting you have the opportunity to get a great discount, and all of these properties come with seller carryback, where I'm bringing 5% to the table to buy these properties. So my cash on cash return number becomes huge, exponential, than over something that I could have gotten off the MLS or bought with commercial financing 25% down. Now I'm able to acquire more properties with the same amount of money. So, putting in the effort and the time, and it's not going to happen overnight. Like a lot of these things are taking, 6 months, 9 months, a year from that first phone call. But at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. So do what others won't, so you can reap the benefits.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to send these letters and postcards out, and they're not going to throw them away immediately. Some people are going to hold on to them. They might put it on the fridge, and because they're thinking down the road in their lives, a couple years even. So that's where follow-up comes into play here, like sending these mailers more than once, and it's going to take a lot of touches because you want to be top of mind when it becomes relevant for them. So the follow-up is key for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think this is all great. We got great, wholesalers, we got mailers. What other kind of off-market deal search strategies can you think of? That's been the extent of what I've done, wholesaling and mailers, but I know there's a whole bunch of other stuff out there that people can do.
Yeah. So another one that has worked for me, I didn't get a deal, but I got in touch with a couple sellers or potential sellers this way, is in my area, we have a local like yard sale Facebook page or community Facebook page. So like every 2 months, I go into all of them and I just say, hey, I'm looking to buy, a rental property, 2 to 4 units in this area. If anyone's looking to sell, send me a DM. And usually it's not the person that's looking to sell. It's like someone that they know that they complain to or something else, and they like tag someone in there. And then I send them a message. And I had a deal that I'd been working on for like 2 years. And I tried to do wrap around mortgage or subject to, and I'd never done one before, so that's why it was taking so long. Needless to say, the deal didn't go through because I didn't have the money at the time, and I was trying to do another really creative way of buying a property that I had never done before. But it got me in touch with some people, and I mean that's free. Like just go on all the community pages in the area and say, hey, I'm looking to buy a rental property. Anyone have any crappy tenants? Anyone have any, buddy that they haven't been able to evict because, whatever. And try to find someone has a really big problem, because people who have rental properties that are selling them, either one, are trying to cash out, retire. Two, they have a giant issue that they don't want to deal with anymore. Or three, they're looking to upgrade to something else. Those are typically like the 3 big things that
Right.
someone's going to sell you one to. Why else would they sell you the property if the cash flow is great, the tenants are fantastic, So you're buying problems. So be a problem solver and take that on. So, I mean, that's a free way to find off-market deals. And then, same thing with the wholesaling. You could do text messages, you could do phone calls, but really also reach out to some local real estate agents that just focus on rental properties, and just let them know, hey, I'm looking to buy a property. I'm not going to sign an exclusivity agreement with you. I just want you to know that. But if the right property comes along, here's what I'm looking for. Send it my way. And I've done that too. And so now I have some real estate guys in the some realtors in the area that start sending me properties, because I don't have time to look everywhere in Maryland for anything that pops up on the MLS, or things aren't always listed underneath the multifamily that are multifamily that they know. So things get listed wrong and they're not in your searches, and then you can miss things. So, those are kind of 2 free ways that you can go about doing this as well.
Yeah, I think that's how I got first started in real estate. The first deal I bought was a I don't know what you call it. They put it in MLS, not as they should have. So it was 3 single families as a portfolio being sold, and they just listed it as one. So when people were looking at this deal in MLS using their filters, it was making it not appear for certain people and making it appear for other people as a wrong result. So it just had been overlooked, and it turned out to be a great deal. It was 3 houses for about $40,000 each in High Point, North Carolina. That time is long gone, but that was probably 2018-ish. But yeah, I mean, if you can find value in MLS like that, that'll be there. While we're talking about it, properties that are mislabeled square footage wise, things that you could add a fourth bedroom to. Those are good ways to find equity in deal and value as well.
I just thought of one that I actually used. People don't talk about this one anymore, but there's an old website called Craigslist out there.
Really date yourself here, man.
Yeah, people used to, before Facebook Marketplace and everything else, that was the place that you would list all your stuff. So people still put stuff on Craigslist. And that's actually how I bought my first triplex and got my first off-market deal. A guy had listed his portfolio on Craigslist and had his number there. So I just called him and started chatting with him about it. And yeah, he ended up selling like 3 out of the 5 properties. And I just kept calling him every month for like 6 months. Like,
Yeah.
hey man, I see did you sell those other 2 properties yet? Oh no. All right, well, we both know they're a little high, but when you're ready to talk, let me know next month. Hey, see the property you still haven't sold yet? Like finally, like 6 months in, this guy's like, all right, I'll sit down with you. And we sat down and I was able to get a triplex and a quadplex from the same guy. And I found that off of Craigslist. So there's another tip for you on their Craigslist.
Yeah, same exact thing, different, looking at it from a different lens. For rent properties on Craigslist and Facebook. They're on Craigslist and Facebook because the owners are trying to rent it out themselves and they don't want to pay a property manager for whatever reason. They're probably tired of being landlords. So call those numbers. Get on Craigslist, get on Facebook, find an owner who's trying to rent the property out themselves and give them a call. Ask them if they've ever considered selling their property, and just talk to them. And I'm sure something good will pop up that way.
That's a great one. If you check out this week's episode, because this is going to be out next week, we have Evan Phoenix. His episode will be out, and that's what he did. He actually called a for rent sign and was able to get a duplex done.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it works. It does work. That is a great one, because Zillow charges you now $9.99 for a week or $14.99 for 90 days. So there's some cheap people out there that just want to put it on Craigslist or Facebook because it's free, and call them all, make a list.
I didn't know Zillow charged you for that. That's good to know.
They do. Yep. They sure do. But I think Zillow's the best one, me personally.
Yeah. They're going to become a sponsor. So I think another one that we touched on, but it's worth repeating and just maybe going into a little bit more detail over, other investors. Those are going to be a great source of off-market deals. The pain point that Patrick identified, they're either trying to scale up or they're just terrible at being a landlord. Whatever the case, they're going to be a source of deals, and they're going to want to work with somebody that's easy to work with. So if you get to grow these relationships at these meetups, and maybe you meet people through your real estate agent that you're working with, whatever, I think other investors would be a really great source for off-market deals, because they're probably going to have a better idea of what the property's worth. You might not be getting like a slam dunk, super great deal with a bunch of equity, but you're going to get a fair deal, and you're going to work with somebody who knows what they're doing. You might be able to do it without paying a real estate agent. You might be able to save some fees, things like that. So other investors are a good source.
Yeah. And all right, this is the number one takeaway of this entire thing with off-market deals. If you get in touch with a seller of an off-market deal, the number one question that you should be asking is, do you have any other properties that you would consider selling? That is the number one. After, what's the address? How much are the rents? Like, do you have any other properties that you would consider selling? Because 9 times out of 10, they have multiple other properties. And if they're considering selling one, they're right now, they want to sell you their number one headache. So you take that off their hands and they're like, yeah, well, this other one is because it hasn't been that bad, but I consider selling that one too. And then all of a sudden now, you went from buying one deal to two deals, or, you sent him a postcard for this address over here, not knowing that he's got 17 other ones.
That's so important. I've seen that so many times, sending out those mailers, and the sellers will call you and they'll say, hey, I'm not interested in selling this property, but I do have this other property that I've been thinking about selling. And they would be two completely opposite properties. Like one would be a commercial space and one would be a multifamily or whatever. But the point is like, it doesn't hurt to ask. You need to ask and follow up. Also, ask if they know anybody else who's trying to sell real estate as well. Those things are not going to be obvious to someone who's trying to sell you property. They're not going to be thinking like that, but you never know what kind of answer you're going to get.
Exactly. And like James and I both said, when you start getting some of these calls, you get caught up, you're so excited. You're like, you've got that giant fish on the line and you're just like trying to make sure the line doesn't break. So you don't want to like push too many buttons, but at the end of the day, like, hey, this is your opportunity, man. So take the shots, ask for the seller financing, ask if they have any other properties to sell, ask if they know anybody else that has any properties like this if you can't come up with a deal. Because other investors hang out, talk shop with other investors that have other properties. And everybody likes to talk about all their great deals and the money they're making, but the second best thing they like to do is talk about all the issues that they have to deal with when it comes with everything. So they'd be like, I remember Steve was telling me about this tenant he had the other day. He might be interested, and just remember, like, these things take a lot of time. So like pump the brakes a little bit and, get them their offer and then ask them when the best time to follow up would be. If they tell you not right now, like, hey, all right, you know what? Maybe not right now, but is it okay if I touch base every 3 months just to see? And then all of a sudden you'll have a list of like 10 people that are thinking about selling, just not right now. And just keep that conversation flowing, because again, when they are finally ready to pull the trigger, hopefully you're the first person they think of. And that's not going to get you a deal today. None of the things that we just talked about are most likely going to get you a deal today or this month, but you need to have a pipeline. If you're a long-term real estate investor, if you're looking to grow a massive net worth and a huge, amount of cash flow, you're going to need to continually buy deals for years to come. So, put all of this in your pipeline, and, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road, this stuff will start to pay off. If anyone who's ever been in sales, with long sales cycles, it's all pipeline. So fill your pipeline full of these potential opportunities, and it will pay off. As two people who have bought multiple off-market deals, it takes time, but it's definitely worth it. And that's why I'm still sending out mailers and still having these phone calls, because that's where all the best deals are.
What do you think as far as a good amount to spend on mailers and marketing? So I know you mentioned, $2,000. I've probably done $2,000-$3,000 a month. And I know some wholesalers that crank out 15 grand a month, 25 grand a month on their deal flow. So how do you kind of think about like how much you're going to invest in that to find off-market deals?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't really have a budget on it. I've just really narrowed my search down a lot. So there's only so many triplexes, quadplexes, and 8, 10, 15, 20 unit apartment buildings in my area. And 9 times out of 10, someone who owns a 15 or 20 unit apartment building, you're not going to be sending it to their house. They have like a PO box or some other crap, and you're kind of wasting your time, but it's worth the 50 cents to send it out. So I might only have a list of 250 people that I'm sending these things out, and they're 50 or 60 cents. So, that's where kind of my budget kind of comes into play. And I'm targeting an extremely small area. Like, I'm not blanketing all of Maryland and Pennsylvania and everything. I'm targeting a very specific niche area, and I want to be the one that everyone in that market thinks of when they're looking to sell.
I think that's
Um,
super important because that allows you to follow up much easier than sending to 100,000 properties. You're only targeting 300. Makes it super easy to do that consistent mailing, that consistent because everyone's going to sell their property at some point.
yeah,
That's a guarantee. So I think that it's a great strategy to narrow down, know what you don't want, just as much as you think you might know what you do want.
exactly. And another thing is, like, um, I always tell people where I live. Any investor that calls, oh yeah, I'm right down the street. Boom, here's where I'm at, where we live in the same town, same place. Oh yeah, I also have a property over here. I've got a property over there. We start swapping stories and everything else. If I was trying to do that at a place 2 hours away from me, I couldn't do that. So it's a great way to connect really quick with one of these potential sellers that, hey, I'm in the community too. I shop at the same place as you shop. I'm right down the street. I'm local. And that's the way that I go about it. That's not going to be for everybody. But that's just what I found has worked for me personally. And 100% of the people that I'm buying from are older, landlords. And, they see a little bit of themselves in me. And that's kind of my strategy to go for. I'm always kind of talk them up a little bit. I ask, like, how many properties have you had? How long you've been doing it? Like, oh man, that's great. That's exactly what me and my wife are trying to do. Like, that's our goals. And again, I make them want to sell to me. Like, as much as they're helping, the whole idea is I'm helping them sell their property for a fair deal if they want to sell. And they're helping a young couple do exactly what they're doing, so then I can be in their shoes. It's one of my lines all the time. Man, I'm looking to be on your side of the table one day down the road, because again, like, then I ask them, hey, do you know anybody else? And it makes the conversation go so much better. I mean, the seller that I bought my first property from 2 years ago, Danielle and I saw him out to dinner about 2 months ago. He came right over to the table. Hey, Patrick, Danielle, how you doing? He ended up buying us a drink. Nicest guy in the world, but we built this relationship where now I haven't seen him in a while. And 2 years later, he remembers us and he asked, how's everything going? So that's the type of relationships I'm trying to build with everybody. That's not everybody's strategy. That's not going to work for everybody. You're going to meet some asshole people out there are going to tell you to stop calling them, take you off your list and everything else. But you only need one.
Right.
You really only need one to hit a home run or a double or even a single out there. So, take action. That's what we say every day, right? Pick one of these strategies, decide, and then commit to doing it once a month. Send out 10 letters a week. Just start small. So get committed, and the taking action part, and then it's gonna come. It's gonna take some time, but you're doing the steps that everybody else out there isn't doing. Everyone else that is just willing to sit on their phone while they're watching Netflix and scroll through, you're going to be a little bit ahead of them. And that's really all you need. You just need an edge, just like in sports and everything else. You just need a little edge to set yourself up in a better opportunity than everybody else out there. And I think today we've given you guys enough tools to give you that edge to find some off-market deals. And then hopefully, a year down the road, you're on the podcast telling us all about it. So
Exactly. Yeah, it's all going to compound on itself. You just got to take that first step, figure out what you're doing, and stick with it consistently, and it's going to compound. you're going to see the results with time. So great. Well, Patrick, I think we cover a lot of great stuff here, talking about how to find off-market deals and kind of some good strategies to find value in real estate. So is there anything else you think we need to talk about, chat, discuss before we hop off?
I just want to say, everybody out there, we appreciate everyone who's listening. If there's any topics that you'd like us to cover on these Thinking Out Louds, we've got a pretty decent list, what we think everybody wants to hear. But for all you guys that are dedicated listeners, actually checking us out, if there's any topic that you want James and I to kind of dive deep on, send us an email, shoot us a DM on Instagram. Please click that little follow button on Spotify, leave us a review. We really, really appreciate that. And I think that's it, James. Let's sign this bad boy off and on to the next one.
All right, guys, let's kick the 9 to 5. Till next time.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Real FI podcast, where you learn from the investors that have lived the hard lessons for you. To connect with us during your pursuit of financial independence, be sure to join our community by following us on Instagram or emailing us at info@therealfi.com. If this content made you financially, mentally, physically, or spiritually richer, please make sure to leave us a positive review on your preferred content platform. Cheers to kicking the 9 to 5.